Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. Some wake up to an alarm. Some wake up to a calling. That's why I'm here. Why are you here? Why are you listening to me on the Kevin Jackson Show? You can reach us, by the way, at kjradio.com. If you want to call the show, 844-551-8255. What is your calling? Are you doing the job that you believe you'd be doing your entire life? Are you answering a call to something? I'm not talking about in your vocation. I'm talking about in your avocation and what you do when you're not working to pay the bills. It turns out that I had a regular job. I was a management consultant. I loved that job. And suddenly, in the weirdest twist of fate, and something none of us would have predicted, when we left great organizations to join this one management consulting company that said they want to revolutionize the way we do things, and they gave us a year, and then they pulled the rug. 8 months into our agreement, they pulled the rug. And everybody, we were looking at ourselves going, did that just happen? Oh, they gave us a package and said, guys, thank you, but no thanks, whatever. And I had written a book, The Big Black Lie. And that book is an amazing book. If you get a chance to get it, you can get it on Kindle or whatever published deal. We found a box of them, the very original ones that we may sell as collector's items because they don't exist anymore. We only printed up, I want to say 1,000 of those, and they're collector's items. But the point is this: little did I know that in that moment where what I thought was this strange thing that happened in my career, and I was trying to figure out, what do I want to do now that I'm very disappointed that these guys sort of tricked us into leaving our companies. What do I want to do? And I found myself thrust into doing this. And I didn't even know what to call myself. To be honest with you, I struggle with it to this day. If it weren't for the fact that Fox News considers me a contributor, I don't know what I'd say. Am I just a best-selling author? And what good is that? That's it. I mean, there are a lot of best-selling authors. I'm an Amazon best-selling author. My books have never made the New York Times. Am I a radio host? Yeah, kinda. It isn't something I train for. It isn't. I mean, there are people that I believe likely do it better in terms of process. I don't know if they deliver the same type of stuff that I deliver, but they've been doing it a long time. I've been doing radio for 8 years. Do I feel good at it? Yes, I'm good at it. And do I believe that we do the best we can? Absolutely. We give you the best of ourselves every single day. Some days are better than others, but I don't know that I would call myself that. Am I a national speaker? Yes. Do I speak every day, every week? No, I speak when people ask me to. I'd like to do more. What am I? I'm a fellow at the Robert J. Dole Institute. What does that get me? But in a strange kind of way, I ended up doing what I believe God wanted me to do. I had many conversations with God about doing this work. When my bank account got down to $8, I was like, God, what do you have me doing here? But you know what? I don't need an alarm clock to get up. I wake up to a calling. I wake up to something that is bigger than I. It's bigger than any individual one of us. It is the collective that I represent. And I believe that you are part of that. Through some crazy form of osmosis, I believe in my heart of hearts that I represent you guys. I'm not an elected official. You don't have to listen to my program. You don't have to do anything to support me. Yet many of you do. Thousands of you do. Tens of thousands of you do. Possibly more. I know this. Millions of people have read my work. I've spoken in front of millions of people. I have been in front of multi-millions of people on TV. And every time I go on, you guys bombard me with, Kevin, way to go. Thank you for doing it. And let me tell you something. Inasmuch as I don't rely on that, because you can never get caught up in the, what do you want to call it? The hoopla of that. As much as I don't rely on it, I love it. I love when you guys recognize what we're doing, because it's not just me, it's a team of people. And this group of folks that supports me, we do an amazing amount of work. Sometimes I don't know how we get it all done. I was talking to a friend of mine. She was like, can I get you on an interview? Because she's got a little radio show, and she's almost embarrassed to call me, Kevin, I don't know if you want to do my little show. I'm like, are you kidding? First of all, we're good friends, so of course I'll do your show. And number two, don't ever tell me you do a little show. Whatever your show is doing, whoever it's reaching is important. And nothing is too small for that. Now, I may not be able to do everybody's show. The reason why I do her show is because she's done work with me. We're personal friends, and I believe in her 100%, and I want her to be the next superstar if we can make her one. So we support her work fully, but it's because she's worked with us. She's given her pound of flesh in order to help me achieve what I'm trying to achieve. And the reason why people like that exist, people that put in that kind of time to help me, is because they knew it was never done selfishly. So what is your calling? I ask people this question all the time when we talk about these issues. Don't think of these as issues. Don't think of these as protecting yourself or whatever. I know it's bigger than that for you. It has to be. It isn't about us. Almost everybody that listens to my program, that has heard me on TV, that follows my work, you could say to heck with this. To heck with this country. I'll be fine. You don't do it for that. You don't wake up to your calling every day and do what you do. You don't fight the good fight for yourself, which is the reason why I fight with you and for you. You fight for the people that you are going to leave behind. That's what's so cool. There's nothing selfish about what we do. What's funny about the left is everything that they do isn't about what's left behind for their kids. It is selfishly motivated for what they can get out of you today. Their retirements. That SUV you just bought. If they come up and take it from you. You name it. It is selfish. And that's why, honestly, they will never win. You cannot win when it is about you. You can only win when you're selfless. And that's what we represent. Anyway, we got a ton to talk about today, folks. I want to tell you about a conversation I had with a friend of mine, a very good friend, around polling. And I'm just telling you guys, polling is not something you should be paying attention to. Don't sweat it. We'll also talk about Venice. We got a ton. There's a reason you're here. I'm going to make it worth your while.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville. Can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. Some things I get tired of talking about. I really do. And one of the things that I'm so sick of hearing is polls. And you may say, well, Kevin, you talk about polls a lot. I do. I'll talk about polls that favor Trump, but not because I'm trying to be a homer or anything like that. I talk about them because they're rare. If a poll favors Trump, you must talk about it because you have to understand how the polling is stacked against Donald Trump. But it's not just stacked against Trump, it's stacked against you. Folks, do I need to tell you, run down the litany of things that make no sense in the world? Do we need to? Do I need to tell you that there are people who believe that you wanting to follow the laws of your land, in other words, close your borders and only allow people in who come here legally, they want to call you xenophobic? They want to call you racist against Mexicans because you say we need to shut down our southern border and make people come into this country legally. And oh, by the way, we have a country that is a heavy percentage of Mexicans. We don't care that if they're here legally, we have no problem with them. There's hardly an American in this country that doesn't know and associate freely with Mexicans. Hardly one. We eat it. Somebody needs to tell Mexicans that we don't like them because we certainly eat their food a lot. We go to their restaurants. We listen to mariachi bands. We have Mexican radio, Mexican TV. If we don't like Mexicans, then we really suck at proving it and showing it. But they will tell us that we don't like Mexicans. A country whose vote we count on. They call it the Latino vote, but being honest with you, it's the Mexican vote. Sure, in Florida, they care about the Cubans. In New York, they care about the Puerto Ricans. But let me tell you something. In Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Colorado, California, Massachusetts, Arizona, New Mexico. Did I mention Arizona? All I can tell you is they care about Mexicans. I'm talking about the left. So what are we? Is anybody you know that have you heard like criticize Mexicans? I'm talking about just really go after them, or do we not care? How often do you hear somebody go, "Hey, you up for Mexican?" and asking for food? Cinco de Mayo, do we go, "Oh man, come that stinky butt Cinco de Mayo"? You know why we got to celebrate these Mexicans? You know what do we do? We embrace Mexican culture. We embrace Mexicans. Do you like boxing? You can't watch boxing without a Mexican being on there, on the card, on the undercard, or the major card. When Julio Cesar Chavez was at the top of his game, I was one of his biggest fans. And I can name other Mexicans, Oscar de la Hoya. So we embrace Mexican culture, but people, oh, you want to close your borders to the Mexicans. No, we want to close our borders to the illegal Mexicans. And guess what? I think we've been pretty good about letting the 20 million of them in here already. I tell you what, let's ask Mexico. How many Americans do you have sneaking across your border to partake of your healthcare system and to find a good economy to go to work for? And then we go out there and in a march and protest with the American flag and talk about it's not your country, man, it's our country. How do we? And for the record, we bought Texas. Was it the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo? I don't know all the history about it, but contrary to what Mexicans want to tell you, we came, we conquered, and then we paid for it, and they agreed. End of story. But these leftists, these white folks on the left who cannot stay out of people's business, want you to believe that you're xenophobic and racist against Mexicans. Probably what? The largest minority group now in the country? Do we rally against them? Is the Tea Party going out and go, we need to get rid of the Mexicans? Said no Tea Partier ever. We say you need to get rid of illegals of whatever color they are and let them come into this country the right way. They try to act like, oh, you're so mean-spirited. I'm sick of them. I don't know how you are. So back to the polls. Every time I hear somebody talk about a poll, I think to myself, are you serious? Are you seriously going to throw one of my friends? He's like, Kevin, I'm really afraid about the polling for Trump. And I said to him, very good friend of mine, benefactor to my company. I'm like, look, buddy, I won't say who it is. He's a good friend of mine. I love him like a brother. But I said, man, look, stop believing the hype. The left wants to destroy you, Donald Trump, everything you stand for. They're going to lie to you the same way Lucifer will come and act like he's your friend and lie, and he'll backstab you in a minute. These polls are absolutely freaking meaningless. If the left wants to be delusional and move forward into 2018 believing that they are making progress against us, congratulate them. Let them believe it. Because it is not true. They are not winning. You are winning. And there's a reason that you're winning. The previous poll had Trump at 38% approval. This was probably a month ago. And I asked everybody on this program and everybody I met, do you honestly believe that the 50-50 that this country essentially went through in November of 8th of 2016, 50-50, Trump wins, the media hammered him, he came right out of the gate as president-elect and saved carrier jobs. Then, ever since Donald Trump has taken has been sworn to the oath of office, he's done nothing but improve things. Don't misunderstand me. You can say, "Oh, Kevin, he didn't win Obamacare. He didn't do this or that." But let me tell you what he's done. The GDP is cranking. Jobs reports. How low can unemployment go is the question we should be asking ourselves. It's 4.3% now, and a full percentage point drop for black people. Do you think black people are too stupid to know this? We have corporations putting money back into R&D, putting money into proactively growing their businesses in the United States. We have manufacturing companies who Barack Obama said would never come back, who are now not only coming back, opening up their factories and bringing more. We have trade agreements being reworked, and Donald Trump is masterfully dealing with these. But then they go, he's a bad president and his approval numbers are down. Name me, poll your friends, ask them, just say, hey, look, did you vote for Trump? Were you a Trump fan? Yes or no? My brother, who told me point blank, Kev, this will be the first election I have not voted, and I won't vote for a Republican. And he called me after the election and said, I was wrong. He was wrong on Trump on his religious beliefs. He was wrong on Trump on what he was going to be able to accomplish. I asked him, practically an anti-Trumper, what do you think? He goes, rock star. Love the guy. Now, I'm not using that as my complete litmus test because I have many others who feel the same way. Stop relying on this poll nonsense, folks. This is the left. This is Lucifer coming to give you an apple and saying, bite the apple. Take that apple, shove it in his mouth, and then do a pig roast with it.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. I want to admit something to you guys that I haven't said in a while. A day that goes by that there's not plenty of news. I mean, it's amazing to me. I could go on to Google News right now, Yahoo News, any particular Fox News, the Daily Caller, Huffington Post, you name it, and I could talk for hours over just the front page of what it used to be. Google has changed, so it's kind of linear now. It used to be more like a newspaper, where you'd have multiple sections. But I could go on any of their main pages of any major periodical and talk for hours. And it seems to me, I'll be honest with you, that I'm just talking about the same thing. I feel like Stephen King when he says he's going to quit writing books because it's the same book. I think he said he started writing a book, and then he thought to himself, wait a minute, I wrote this book. And sure enough, he had. And that's when he said, I'm done writing books. He had reached the end of his imagination. Now, I certainly haven't reached the end of my imagination. But I've reached the end of my patience, I guess is what I'm thinking. I'm starting to get that feel like we're just going in this circular discussion. And I really do. I'm sharing this with you guys live because I want you to understand that I'm going through this metamorphosis of wondering, what do we do next? I mean, look, we've got projects. We've got our movie project, bleedingbluemovie.com, a cop film, a documentary that is about 80 or 85% pro-police, 15% real, in the sense that there are issues in the police department. And the reason why we did the documentary that way is, unlike Michael Moore, thanks for that adjustment, unlike Michael Moore, I do not want to present something completely one-sided. I don't believe all cops are good. I don't believe law enforcement is right all the time. I flatly don't. But I'll tell you this, I would rather have them than not, and the overwhelming number of them are amazing people. And we aren't being told that. We're being told a lie, because the bigger picture of that lie is there are people in this country, for example, who don't want cops. I sat next to a girl who said, why don't we take police out of black neighborhoods, out of the cities? Let's get a nationalized police force. Can you imagine calling D.C.? Hey, D.C., we need a cop in Tupelo, Mississippi. Oh, Kevin, there'll be a substation there. Really? Like what? Is it going to be better than the substation, the cops that's already there? What is federalizing the police? What will that possibly do? Will it be like the mail? Will they work on Sundays? I'm just asking. These are good questions, don't you think? Anyway, we have plenty to do. We're helping kids get adopted. We're keeping latchkey kids off the street. We're starting a thing called TeaPartyCommunity.com. We're not starting it. It's been around for a while. That's going after the social media footprint of the left so they don't dominate. But I still feel like we're doing the same thing. I really want to get into the field. I don't want to be sitting behind a desk. Don't misunderstand me. Behind a microphone is powerful. But I want to do more. I want to be where I can show people, when you get off your butts, when you put your money where your mouth is, you make an impact. I mean, look, Chicago, over 4,000 homicides in Chicago since 2009. The majority of them, black on black crime. And you know what black folks are talking about? Pulling down statues of old white men that did nothing to them. Old white men who lost a war. Many of whom didn't even believe in the cause of the war they were fighting for. By the way, any of these 4,000 homicides in Chicago since 2009 been committed by Nazis? I mean, we're rioting in Charlottesville, Virginia, over the idea of white nationalism. I know the guy who set up that event. His name is Jason Kessler. He is not a white supremacist in any way. He's a guy that says, why can't we have a nationalism versus white nationalism or black nationalism? Why is it we got to pull down statues when we got bigger problems? Tucker Carlson asked the question of a guy who is fighting for the rights of Colin Kaepernick, VP of the NAACP in Atlanta. You know what? Let's just play the clip. A couple of clips.
What makes you suspect it's racial? Again, the league is 70% black. If anything, it seems like it might be able to use a little diversity. I mean, that's not. How is that racism? I'm honestly confused.
Well, the issue is with the ownership. And again, there are no owners that are African American. There's one owner that's a person of color. So you have 32 teams, 32 owners who we believe are acting in a way that goes against putting a good product on the field. If it's about ability and the ability to win games and to produce on the field, Colin Kaepernick's stats speak for themselves. Again, his quarterback rating shows that he's the 17th best quarterback in the league. There's no reason why he should not be able to at least get a training camp invite to be able to show his talents on the field. We're
going to play another clip, but I want to delve into this for just a second, and then maybe we'll talk about the other side of this on the in the next segment. But so we've got the NAACP in Atlanta, who is concerned about Colin Kaepernick, and they're saying that the reason that Kaepernick didn't get a job is because of racism in the NFL. Now, to Tucker's point, the NFL is actually 68.7% black. Now, he's rounded it up and said it's 70%, but it's highly black, given that blacks are 13% of the population. So it really doesn't hold water. And by the way, it is these white owners, the very people that this guy, is talking about, who hired these 70% black people at a 500% rate of their population. These racist whites are hiring these black folks. But instead of talking about that, he then segues into, well, it's not about the players, it's about the owners. Because, see, that would go to say that these players are getting paid slave wages, and this is what happened with LeBron James a while back when they were like, it's a slavery for LeBron James to have to play for the Cleveland Cavaliers when he wanted to go to the Miami Heat. And then after he went to Miami and he wanted to come back to Cleveland, well, it was no longer slavery. And by the way, he made $7 million a year when they were accusing the owner, I think his name is Dan Gilbert, the guy that owns Quicken Loans, of being a slave master. LeBron James was making $7 million a year as pretty much as a rookie. I know he was one of the highest paid players. He's gone and come back. Now he's one of the highest paid players, but he's no longer working for slave wages, I guess. Anyway, back to Colin Kaepernick. So the NAACP is weighing in on NFL football, who employs 68.7% black folks, almost 70% black people, in jobs where they make multiple millions of dollars. Colin Kaepernick's contract was for $126 million, of which he was paid something like $38 million of it. And then he, of his own accord, opted for free agency. Now, this guy argues he's the number 17 quarterback in the league statistically, even though there are 90 quarterbacks. Given that, some team should pick him up. And he's mad. He's saying it's not just that the NFL is racist with 70% blacks. It's not that. It's these owners who employ 70% of black millionaires, make these young black thugs, and I don't want to call them all thugs, but these young black men millionaires, and then now they're racist. That's the supposition. So if they're racist, and he's saying, well, they should want to put the best product on the field. Colin Kaepernick was 3-13 in his last year with the 49ers. What's the best product? And as I've argued on this program and a few others, Colin Kaepernick, there's no guarantee of him to get a job. I don't care how good he is. I can tell you stories about a friend of mine who's a kickboxer. Nobody would fight him. And it wasn't because he was a terrible kickboxer. It was quite the opposite. He was a really good one. He was amazing. Sadly, he ended up in prison because he didn't have the right attitude. And Colin Kaepernick doesn't have the right attitude. Who wants to play with him? You want your white players to play with him? What kind of discord are you going to see with that? What about the black players who disagree with him? What happens to them? In the picture where Colin Kaepernick and his buddy there are two other guys. One's not even on the field, a player. One's in uniform that are kneeling. I'll tell you this. One of those, look right beside him. There's a big black dude standing with his hand over his heart who probably has to block for Kaepernick. He's standing there proudly American as Colin Kaepernick takes a knee. So it's amazing to me that we are still entertaining this kind of nonsense in a time when black folks can do whatever we want. And we're not talking about the sport of curling and, black people can't do it and they're making millions of dollars. Anyway, I got more to talk about on this subject that I want to get back on track when we come back.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. I got a little off track last segment, but I was talking about my frustration. KJRadio.com is where you can find out more about us, or you can call the show at 844-551-8255. I was talking about my frustration as an American that we will not allow this country to get on track and stay on track purely because leftists don't want people to believe that Donald Trump is as good as he is, because that would expose how bad Barack Obama is. And I was using different analogies. The number of people killed in Chicago since 2009, 4,000, none of them by Nazis, none of them by Confederate monuments, none of them by Confederate flags. But we watch black on black crime happen every single day. Black on white crime happen more than the norm. And we're talking about Confederate statues. We're talking about nonsense, folks. The left, they are masters at subterfuge. And they have us talking about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee in a sport. I mean, let's say you did something at a company that you work at, unpatriotic for whatever reason, and they let you go. We don't even talk about it. But because he plays football, he is a pampered little princess who plays football and makes millions of dollars. We got to give him more due. I talk about this all the time, and maybe we'll cover it today. We're singers. You know, what is Katy Perry? Why is Katy Perry or Taylor Swift's idea around something better than yours, or Ben Affleck, or whomever? Why does George Clooney count for more? Because he can act? Why does Barbara Streisand count for more? Because she can sing? Does that make them smarter than you? Of course not. These people are less plugged in. Their world is so far removed from your day-to-day grind, they can't even see the forest for the trees. But they get credit. They get, we listen to them. They are all over the place. And leftists want it. They dominate. They make you believe George Clooney is relevant. Stars are Darfur. We've got to help Darfur. Most of them couldn't find Darfur on a map. They wouldn't know how to pronounce it. Couldn't tell you what an indigenous Darfurian looks like. But it becomes the catchphrase because that's what the left does. They make sure we catch on to it and woo, look at us. And we oblige. I was mentioning a guy, Jason Kessler, hit piece on this guy. He's a former liberal who became a conservative of sorts. And they were blaming him for calling him a white nationalist for the Charlottesville thing. He's far from a white nationalist. He got a guy named Wes something, a black guy, fired off of Terry McAuliffe's Committee on Education. He got him fired from his teaching position. And even though he remains vice mayor of the city, this guy, Wes Bellamy, that's his name, Wes Bellamy, Kessler's got him on notice. And he did it because Bellamy is an ethnocentric black racist who extorts white people in the town of Charlottesville to donate to him. He's got an extortion racket going. The same as Jesse Jackson, the same is Al Sharpton, and many others. D. Ray McKesson, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is extorting Grand Canyon University because a black man dare say there are members of Black Lives Matter who should be killed. A black professor said this. A white professor outed him after he was dismissed from his job. They think it's some sort of a tiff between the two. And now this black professor finds himself under fire for saying something truthful. Black Lives Matter are terrorist thugs, just like Antifa. And some of them need to be killed if they continue to incite violence. They think that they're immune to somebody responding back. And you say that, you say the truth about it. Let me put it to you this way. If I'm a cop and you pull the BLM crap that got pulled in Dallas, I'll shoot you. You're going to shoot at me? I shoot back. I don't need to get rules of engagement. And what are we afraid of? Confronting terrorists? I want to go back to this Kaepernick thing because Tucker Carlson had the VP of the NAACP, and I played the first clip where Tucker was essentially saying the NFL is overwhelmingly black. So then the guy goes, yeah, but not the owners. Okay, well, you could say the Fortune 500, there aren't a whole lot of black owners of companies. Does that make it bad that they employ black folks? I wouldn't care. Look, if Apple Computer wants to employ 85% black people, I don't care who the ownership is. The United States Post Office employs mostly blacks. The owner is the American public, which is not mostly black. But I don't care. Black folks got jobs. Congratulations, Negroes. No, other people thought I was going to say something else. I was going to say Negroes. Anyway, look, that wasn't even the biggest part of the argument. The biggest part of the argument when Tucker was talking to the vice president of the NAACP, who has taken it on itself to represent one colored person, and his name is Colin Kaepernick. And he's only half black. He's half black and he's half Italian. I guess they're only representing half of his case. But they are representing a black man who got a $126 million contract, of which $38 million was paid out to him. Not to mention the endorsements he likely had when he was at the top of his game. And now Kaepernick, who of his own accord took free agency and can't find a job, and he's wondering why, and they want to cry racism. And my frustration is we should be stopping them from doing this nonsense every single time. And what's funny, the VP of the NAACP, we'll do it. If we have to, we will take harsh steps. The harsh steps have already been taken against the NFL because of Colin Kaepernick. We're the reason that the NFL stats are so far down, they're going to be begging for buttermilk here pretty soon. Anyway, let's play that other Tucker Carlson clip interviewing this NAACP VP and discuss it, because this was a key question asked by Tucker and, of course, never answered by the NAACP.
Right. So you represent the NAACP. Here's my question to you.
I'm the vice president of the NAACP Atlanta.
That's right. So over 70% of black children were born out of wedlock this year. Is that a bigger problem or a smaller problem than Colin Kaepernick getting another $126 million contract? Because I don't hear you saying anything about that.
Well, first off, if you Google me, you'll see the work that I do in the African-American community here in Atlanta. So a question like 70% of the African-American children being born out of wedlock,
yeah, it seems like a big deal.
We're focused. We're focused. Well, what is the rate in Atlanta? I live in Atlanta, Georgia. So you could tell me the rate in Atlanta.
Here
you can tell me the rate in
sucking
Georgia.
up to a guy who just signed a $126 million contract. I think in a country of 320 million, you could find someone who's actually the victim of racism or oppression. But this guy, who's 29 years old and has more money than God, he's the victim. It just doesn't. I guess that's what I'm saying. There are a lot of people who might want to, might need your help.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. So it was funny. Great question from Tucker, right? 70% of kids are born out of wedlock. That's the biggest issue, affecting the black people today, is the lack of family, the nuclear family. And you're worried about Colin Kaepernick. You're singling out one dude who doesn't even need your help. I don't know if they even registered with the guy. So then he says, well, Google me. Google me. I'm an amazing person. Look at what I do. And Tucker's going, yeah, but you may do some good stuff, but you're wasting your time right now. But no, Google me. And he says, oh, by the way, it doesn't matter what the rate is for black people all over the place. The rate in Atlanta is what I'm concerned about. The rate of kids born out of wedlock in Atlanta. Look at what work I've done. And then you can determine if you believe that I'm worthy of sitting here defending Colin Kaepernick, because I've done an amazing job in Atlanta. So you must presume, right, that the out of wedlock births in Atlanta because of this VP is just outrageous. He has made a super dent in the out of wedlock births. No, he hasn't. I looked it up. 2/3 of the kids in Atlanta were born out of wedlock. Atlanta, folks, is the modern chocolate city. It's not New Orleans. It is the city, shining city on the hill for blackness. They have been Andrew Young, mayor of Atlanta. They've had marquee mayors. It is run by black folks, and it's been run into the ground. And it's no different than any other city that's run by Democrats, and particularly black Democrats. It's run so poorly, they're going after white people in the suburbs to bolster their tax base. This guy wants you to believe he's done some amazing stuff in Atlanta. It is a lie. He hasn't done jack. Just more race baiting, more dividing of America by black race pimps.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. So the big news is Hurricane Harvey is rampaging across Texas. What they said is the system parked over Texas, and that's when a hurricane gets dangerous, because normally it'll hit the earth and then it'll start to dissipate. But there's no mountains in Texas, so unfortunately Harvey's just sitting there, biding his time, and it's causing a lot of flooding. So we certainly our hearts go out to those folks. And I'll tell you, I've been stuck in something similar, probably not nearly as bad. And I got to tell you, in Houston, Texas, if there's an inch of rain, water can be up to creeping into your car in minutes. Terrible, what do they call it, drainage system and things like that. And then one time I was headed to my grandmother's 80th birthday party, and a storm came through San Antonio. And what should have been about a 10-minute drive ended up being a 2-hour drive. And we were meandering around water. It was ridiculous. My older boys couldn't make it. It was crazy how bad that was. So when Texas floods, it's no joke. The other thing I want to talk about to begin the show is Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. And look, I get it that you got to have a lot of hype in building up to a fight. And I saw the fight. People were like, "Did you pay $100?" No, I didn't. I found one of these people streaming it off their TV, and I watched it on a phone. And that's how much I was interested in it. I wanted to, and let me explain why. Conor McGregor is an amazing fighter. In the MMA, he's done a lot. Now, is he the best fighter in the MMA? No, by far. He can be beat. And he will be beaten. But what got me was Conor McGregor, and I don't blame him. I mean, I get it. Conor McGregor got paid over $100 million. I don't know what he'll take out. But he would have to fight his entire lifetime and more in order to command that kind of a purse in the octagon. I don't know what it says for which sport. You've got a sport that's on its way in decline, boxing, where Floyd Mayweather has been the top grossing athlete for 4 out of the last 6 years, 2012, 13, 2014, and 16. And you can bet he'll get it in 2017. So it'll be 5 years. Right now it's 4 out of the last 5 years, I should say. It'll be 5 out of the last 6 years, because this year his payday on this fight was ridiculous. And he didn't disappoint. You're talking about a guy. Look, I love MMA. I love fighting, pugilism in all its forms. I train these guys and train guys that are, quite frankly, better. I know it was, and I'll just, so people understand what I'm saying. Somebody made a tweet, Kevin, Floyd ought to fight Conor McGregor in a real fight, and I said, well, then Conor McGregor should ask for a real fight. And I'm going to get into why these comments came up in a second, but MMA is not a real fight. I don't know if people don't get it twisted, folks. Go out and get with Russian Spetsnaz and bring your MMA fighter and get in a real fight. And I'm going to tell you that Russian's going to win. Don't talk to me about real fighting. Real fighting is combat. It is life and death. It isn't getting a trophy and somebody getting knocked out. You get knocked out in a real fight, you're not going to wake up from it because they're probably going to do something dramatic. So, and the other thing is this. There are people to train that you'll never meet that don't care about a real fight. And they are the baddest people on the planet. So, look, if you think you know the fight game, fine. But, a lot of people don't. And they think they know it. Long story short, I know the fight game. McGregor is amazing as an MMA artist. And he's a journeyman boxer. And Floyd Mayweather was completely at ease. The first 3 rounds, if you want to give those to McGregor, fine. That's what's called the feeling out rounds. After that, Floyd Mayweather put a whooping on McGregor that was worthy of being in the Smithsonian. He shut his mouth. And I'm bringing this up for a reason. There are a lot of people who believe that, McGregor's going to do this. He's shocking the world and all this stuff. And he very well could have, but he didn't. And then everybody after that, well, Floyd needs to now fight him in the octagon. No, he doesn't. Floyd did not call him out into the octagon. McGregor wanted a big fat payday that he couldn't get in the octagon. And I don't blame him for this. He set it up with the guy who can bring the biggest gate in history. And he made people believe that he could beat him. It reminds me of Hillary Clinton, to be honest with you. And so he came into his lane where Floyd Mayweather smiled the entire time and put a whooping on this guy. And so then all the apologists come out. Well, he could have won if he had been less tired. And he could have, and if a frog had wings, would he bust his butt jumping? Yes, he could have won if Mayweather had slipped on a banana peel, if Mayweather had broken his arm, if Mayweather had, lost his legs and went paralyzed. There's a million ways I can give you that he could have won, but he didn't win because he was fighting an artist in his lane who called him out to say, look, if you want to make some money together, I'll make it with you, but you're not going to beat me in my art. And look, I didn't have a dog in a fight. I didn't care, honestly, one way or the other, except this. I didn't want MMA guys essentially saying that boxing is those boxers are nothing. Which brings me to another point, and I'm going to have another segment because I'm going to have to explain some of these other things that happened in the tweets. Boxing is an art. And generally speaking, when you're going to start a fight, it's going to be on your feet. The better you are on your feet, the less likely you are to be off your feet. Because there's a saying in MMA, all fights go to the ground. That's not true. Conor McGregor's biggest fight in the MMA was essentially a boxing match. Jose Aldo came in, Conor McGregor hit him with a left and knocked Aldo to the ground, and that was the end of it. It was a punch. So for those people to go, oh, Kevin, Mayweather wouldn't do anything in the MMA, well, maybe you're right. But he's got a puncher's chance, and he's got one of the best puncher's chance in the world because he is undoubtedly one of the top people to ever put boxing gloves on. The second point on that particular issue is the gloves are smaller. So Mayweather's punches are going to be precise, and they're going to be a lot harder than they are with 16-ounce gloves. So don't dismiss this, but I want to talk about this because people got mad at me. Kevin, you need to stay in your political lane. You don't tell me what to do.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. You can reach us by phone at 844-551-8255. So I was talking about, in the first segment, about Mayweather and McGregor. Good fight, if you happen to catch it. And I'm watching this fight, and I'm happy that the boxer won in his milieu, okay? If it had been an MMA fight, I would have been happy that the MMA guy proved that he's better in his milieu. That is why there are different sporting categories. For example, there's K1, there was PKA back when I was a fighter. There was all these different things that you tested yourself in it. There's Vale Tudo if you're jiu-jitsu, and there's a host of other things. And different ones were set up for different skill sets. And if you aren't training for that skill set, then you're probably not going to win. Michael Jordan proved this by training for basketball and deciding, you know what, I'll go play a little bit of baseball. And he did, and he sucked at it. McGregor came over to fight in boxing, and there are people who will argue this. Oh, Kevin, he went 10 rounds with the best boxer. Let me tell you something. Mayweather could have knocked this dude out in 5 rounds. He dragged him into deep water to make it easy. Why do I need to impress an audience when I'm going to get a payday of $200 million? I would have done the same thing. If I could have knocked you out in the first round by fighting hard and potentially getting hurt, why do that? I'm just going to lure you in, let you think you're winning some rounds, and I'm going to knock your head off. And that is exactly what Mayweather did. And let me tell you, around the 4th or 5th round, McGregor knew. He got that look. Let me explain the look. The look is when you're, as my grandmother would say, you let your lips overload your hips. Because that look is where somebody believes, I'm tougher than you, I'm going to kick your butt. And you go, okay, fine. And you set up the fight, and pow, you hit them a couple times, and they go, crap, I didn't even see that. How am I going to fight something I can't see? I know that look because I've given that look to enough people to where I go, you ask for this. Conor McGregor called Mayweather out rightfully. He's going to get the biggest payday of his life. At the prime time of his career, he's 29 years old. He's going to fight a 40-year-old man who's been retired for 2 years. You couldn't ask for a better scenario for Conor McGregor. And he fights, let me tell you, the level of training for a Floyd Mayweather versus any of the MMA guys, you just don't know. This kid grew up as a fighter. He grew up on the streets. He grew up watching people talk smack and understanding that he was willing to back it up. And then by the 5th round, that fight was over, completely over. Mayweather was pretty much stalking this guy. Everybody was joking. Oh, Mayweather's going to be on his bicycle. He's going to be running. How do you fight when you're running? He didn't run. He backed this guy up the entire 5th round till he knocked him out. And you could see the level of intensity of those punches. And Conor McGregor starts grabbing on. Look, I got nothing against Conor McGregor, a good fighter who called the guy out, who is arguably one of the best boxers to ever, well, in my opinion, inarguably, one of the best boxers to ever put gloves on. But here's where I want to get into the politics of it. So some guy sends me a thing, Kevin, you need to stick to politics. First of all, don't tell me what to do. I know fighting. So if I weren't doing this, I probably would be announcing fighting or something like that. I know it because I live it every single day. I live fighting, whether I'm training my son or somebody else or training myself. And believe it or not, a lot of the concepts of what I talk about on this program come from a warrior's code, a warrior's mentality that says, I'm not backing down from this fight. It's too important. Now, look, I don't look for fights. McGregor looked for his fight, and he found it. But I think he did it for all the right reasons. I wouldn't change a thing. But don't get it twisted. And then, of course, everybody was, well, Kevin, he can't do this if he comes over to the octagon. And my argument is, Mayweather didn't say, hey, Conor McGregor, you think you're so bad, I'm going to come over to the octagon and kick your butt. He has no obligation to go over there and do anything, to fight, to whatever. Then I had guys telling me, well, it's not a real fight, like MMA. MMA is not a real fight, and I'm not even going to argue with it. The guys out there that I train with, we understand this. MMA is what boxing and the octagon is it's a good test of your skills in an environment that's controlled and has rules. Now, if you want to believe that that's a real life fight, then you're dead wrong. It's a good indication of your skill set, and there's nothing wrong with that. So is form. If you want to do form, I mean, for all intents and purposes, the better your form looks, the better, the crisper, the more you can see the crispness of your kicks or your punches, the better you may potentially fight. If you go further and do what's called one steps, where somebody throws a punch and you respond and you do 15 different tactics on them, then all the better. You get more, you get better off. Then there's sparring, and sparring is another level up. But when you get into a real life situation, don't think the octagon is going to save you, because it isn't. Don't think the ring is going to save you. It's prepared you. And as I say to the people I train in, my sons, trust your training. There should be no doubt that you have offered the best when it's time for you to come at the thing. So, long story short, folks, I get these people mad. They're telling me I'm in the thing for Mayweather, but here's the one that really got me. Somebody saying, "Oh, Kevin, so I didn't think you would be supportive of a guy who beats his wife." Meaning Mayweather, or beats his wives or beats his wife. I don't know whether he beat one or he beat all of them. But for the sake of discussion, maybe he did beat them all. Let me explain something to you folks. I was asked to judge the fight. Kevin, what do you think is going to happen in the fight? Mayweather's going to beat him. Not cheering for him. I cheered for the sport of boxing, because if an MMA guy can just come over and beat up the best boxer, one of the best boxers ever, then why don't you just cancel boxing? Boxing is a true art with your hands. And if you know how to do it well, I know guys that can do it well, that would do very well in the octagon, particularly if they train for that. But don't dismiss the boxer. And for the people that want to do that and act like, yeah, well, I'm going to move around on the ground and spend 5 years or 10 years of my life learning how to ground fight, good for you. I mean, I've done it. But if you don't spend 5 or 10 years of your life learning how to use your hands, you're going to be in trouble, because a boxer can give you a lot of grief. But back to the wife beater. So this guy's like, you're supporting of a wife beater. How am I supporting a wife beater when I'm talking about who's going to win the fight? I'm doing a fight analysis. Well, it would be great if McGregor, Mayweather certainly has all the tools. He's got the speed. He's got the talent. He's certainly in great shape. He's considered one of the pound for pound. But, he is a wife beater, so there's no chance of him winning. Said no announcer ever. That's not what I was talking about. But what gets me is people left me on Twitter saying, I can't support a guy who supports a wife beater. Then go. You don't even need to tell me the reason you go. Go. I don't support wife beater. That's so silly that it makes me wonder who the hell you think you are. It's just stupid. I don't support a wife beater. I'm doing an analysis of a fight, and idiots will, you support that. Let me tell you something. Tell me what you support, and I'm going to go dig up a little dirt on them, and then I'm going to abandon you because, you support Michael Jordan, and he, cheated on his wife.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Yeah, the other side is fighting for communism. Socialism, communism has killed 100 million people. I grew up in Soviet Union, so I know what I'm talking about. 65 million people died in China. That's what the Democrats are fighting for, and that's what we're against. You're calling us neo-Nazis.
Sorry, I missed where you're from.
I grew up in Soviet Union. I'm a U.S. citizen. I came here legally. Yes, that's my wife.
Hi.
Yeah, she's an American, but I grew up in Soviet Union. I know what socialism leads to. It leads to killing of millions of innocent people. And here we have all those people. They're all socialist communists. And that's what we want in this country? 100 million people. You're talking about neo-Nazis. How many Jews did Nazis kill? 6 million.
Right.
How many people did communists kill? 100 million. So why are you worried about neo-Nazis?
So
there are only 500 neo-Nazis here in the U.S. Look at these people. These are thousands of people. You're saying that all neo-Nazis are here many times over?
No, we're not saying that all neo-Nazis are here. We were asking about kind of the rise that's been happening.
No, they're asking about liberal stupidity, ignorance.
No, there is no rise. The rise is in nationalism. It's not in racism. It's in nationalism.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That was a Russian guy, as you could hear, and he's talking about the rise of nationalism. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. I love listening to this guy. First of all, he talks about the rise of nationalism, but what I want to say, which, by the way, is the rise of rationalism, but one of the things that he touched on was a very important concept. And he said, you're focused on the Nazis. They killed 6 million Jews. Communism killed 100 million people. So do the math. Now, both of those are atrocious, but we use Nazi to say, look at what the Nazis, you're a Nazi, you're a Hitlerian, Donald Trump is like Hitler, blah, blah, blah. But communism is okay. Socialism is okay. Bernie Sanders talks about socialism as if it's utopia. This guy is saying to you, let me give you the real numbers. He's saying 100 million people were killed in the name of socialism, and you're happy about it. Come on, get happy. How could you possibly be happy about a system of government that in multiple places around the world has done nothing except kill more people than the neo-Nazis that you talk about? When's that ever been proposed? Has anybody said, oh, you love socialism? You like the killing of hundreds of millions of innocent people from a handful of powerful folks? Has anybody ever put socialism or communism in that context? No. We fight it by defending, not even really by defending ourselves against the call of being Nazis. Call me a Nazi. I'll say, I'll take your Nazi and I'll up you one socialist. Who you want to talk about? You want to talk about Pol Pot? Look at the dictators, Mussolini, all these guys. They're nothing but vicious killers. And they use the population to get behind them to do it. Every one of these African countries is run with the idea of some guy, some warlord or whatever saying, I'll take care of you all. As long as you capitulate. As long as you do what I say, you're cool. You can't get a person who is more who understands it better than these foreigners. I will tell you, Joe the plumber and I did a tour, and we were somewhere down south. I don't remember where, and we went into a gun shop, and a guy came over to meet us. He's a big, I want to say he was Polish. He was either Polish or Russian. And he said to me, I took off work because I heard you guys were coming. And we talked for 5 minutes, and he explained where he came from. And he says, this country, I moved to this country to get away from the very thing that these leftists are fighting to implement. And he says, it's so dangerous, and I want to do anything I can to warn people, you do not want what I had in my country. That's why I fought to leave. I'll never forget the guy. I can see his face right now. Obviously, I don't know his name. And many foreigners are this way. My photographer is from Romania. And she's like, I want nothing to do with this country. I live and breathe apple pie. The problem is we have a bunch of spoiled Americans. I hate to even use the word Americans because they don't feel like Americans. We have a bunch of spoiled leftists who believe they know America, and they believe all the hype and the nonsense of leftism, and nobody's able to challenge them on their views, and so they think they're right. They believe this construct of socialism and communism, which on paper is pretty appealing, is the way to go. Unfortunately, it's never worked. And look, we're getting into, okay, Kevin, you're telling us what we already know. I'm saying, how do we allow people to continue to have a discussion on stuff that's never worked, and it comes up and they proudly display the Communist Party of America, the Socialist Party of America. Maxine Waters, a proud, avowed socialist. People that will kill you for no reason at all. And it goes into every arc of, just think about it. They kill kids in the womb. They don't care. They kill kids on the street in neighborhoods that they don't give a crap about. In black neighborhoods and brown neighborhoods, kids are killed at an alarming rate. I'm talking about under 20-year-olds. Just look at the Chicago crime blotter every week and see how many people are killed. Look at who dies. 13-year-old kid shot and killed, 15-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid. If that type of crime was happening in the suburbs of Chicago, they'd go crazy. They tell you the lives they value. They don't value the lives of blacks and browns and anybody dying. They only value the lives of the people they deem worthy. This is eugenics at its finest. And black people are committing it on themselves, killing themselves. And these white bourgeois onlookers are happy to see it. They don't care. Rahm Emanuel, take it to the alley. He doesn't care. Black crime in Chicago has been at epidemic proportions for the entire time this fool has been mayor. And he's done nothing. And he won't do anything. If you think he will, good luck. He won't. Socialism and communism killed over 100 million people, and we're talking about nonsense. Unbelievable. The New York Times had this to say about the tearing down of monuments, and I'm going to tie this all back. They said, be careful in tearing down all these monuments, or you might give the right a cause. See, the New York Times, the leftist rag that it is, understands that nothing can be gained from this. The left believes they're winning, and when they tear down a statue of Robert E. Lee. Congratulations. If you think that's going to translate into a vote in 2018 that's going to be positive for the left, you don't understand strategy. See, they've already emptied their frustration out. We tore down that monument. There was nothing they could do. All right, so I'm going to go watch the next football game or play my Xbox. But let me tell you something. People on the right who understand this concept, and believe me, there are lots of blacks in America, and I'm going to use us as an example, black people, that get it. We don't care about these statues. We never cared about them. But what they wanted to do, these white folks wanted to get black people riled up. But they didn't. What they did is they made black people wake up and say, what if they're going to tear down MLK tomorrow? What if they're going to tear down what they've already torn down God, right? Where can you not? You can't display a nativity scene, but you could have porn at your disposal. Anywhere. Sex shops are, go to any big city, you'll find sex shops. You'll find peep shows. You'll find, I don't know if they do videos much anymore, but these XXX video places and, there's an area for prostitution in practically every major city. Yeah. There's an area. If you go to a major city, go to police and say, yeah, I'm doing a study. Where are the prostitutes at? And the cops will go, well, if you're looking for the prostitutes, they're going to be hanging out at the corner of Crenshaw and 3rd. They can tell you exactly where it is. But ask them where there's a nativity scene. They can't tell you. And I'm not just talking about during Christmas. Ask them where there's any symbol of Christ outside of a church. And, well, we don't allow that. This is the type of world we've built. Anyway, you guys, they believe you need a cause. What's funny to me is they believe that tearing these statues down, it gives you the need. Well, it could create a cause amongst the right. Ha! We already have our cause, leftists. We've been fighting it for the last decade, and I'm talking about in force. We've seen it over the last 2 decades, but we have really started to fight it in the last decade. We don't need a new cause. Our cause is to right this ship. And if you want to say you're bolstering us, you're emboldening us, I'll get it out, to really go harder, you're exactly right. That's why what you're finding, folks, this is good for us. It's testing our resolve and it's strengthening our resolve. Because I don't know about you, I see these statues coming down and I can see into the future and I say, I don't like what I'm seeing. So I'm going to fight even harder.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. And I want to talk a little bit about the state of the world, and I'm going to cover Muslim terror attacks. We get caught up in other news, but I want you to understand these other things continue to happen in parallel. And so as of August, I believe the 27th was the last time I looked at the report when we were putting this research together, there were 1,397 Islamic terrorist attacks in 56 countries, 9,862 people killed, 10,298 injured. Now, in the month of August through the 27th, 152 Muslim attacks had occurred. And I want to just highlight a couple of these because you don't hear about all of them. Most of these are happening in Muslim countries, and they're an intimidation ploy, if you will, by the Muslim terror groups on their own people. But a few of these happened outside of the country, outside of Muslim countries, and of course those are the ones that we highlight. So, for example, in Spain, we had 130 people who were injured, 14 people killed when a Muslim driver mowed down over 100 pedestrians along a venue. But here's another one that occurred, one in Finland, where 6 people were injured and 2 were killed. A man allegedly yelling Allahu Akbar stabbed 2 women to death in a city street. And then in Paris, Muslims living illegally there deliberately plowed his car into a group of soldiers. He wounded 6, but he killed none. Now, I want to go through and I just want to read to you some of these. These are beginning August the 1st. I captured a few of these, and I'm just capturing these randomly, but I want to give you an idea. From August the 1st through the 27th, when I got the research, here's a few of them. 0 people injured, 8 killed. A woman and a child are among a family of 8 obliterated in their own home by ISIS shrapnel. I'm just going to go through these. 3 wounded, 6 killed. Half dozen local cops are cut to pieces by Taliban extremists. 66 wounded, 32 killed. Suicide bomber detonates at a Shiite mosque. Here's another one. 4 wounded, 2 killed. Muslim brothers target a group of teachers, killing 2 guards. Next one. Jihadis booby trap a house, picking off 2 family members. 1 wounded, 2 killed. 10 wounded, 7 killed. Boko Haram storm a village, shooting and beheading 7 innocents. Here's the next one. Islamists fire on a bus along a highway, killing 3 passengers. 5 were wounded. A Fedayeen suicide car bomber and a burqa, and of course they killed 2 Americans and a German. 4 were wounded. An Al-Qaeda suicide bomber leaves 6 others dead. 3 wounded, 6 dead. Now, I'm going to stop there for a second and just explain what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you are things that we are allowing to come into the United States. You got suicide bombers. You got bombs being planted at people's homes. You have people driving their vehicles into people, killing them. You have villagers terrorists storming villages and shooting people haphazardly. And you ask us, why are we circumspect over refugee resettlement when we have 152 in the month of August, 152 examples? I didn't even go by and calculate the number of people killed, but it is amazing. Let me go on and give you some more of these. Al-Qaeda suicide bomber, that's where I left off. Supermarket employee stabbed by a radicalized Palestinian. Women and children, there was 1 wounded. Here's the next one. Women and children among the casualties of an Islamic State bomb blast. 4 wounded, 3 killed. Family of 5 exterminated by the Taliban. Next one. 3 women among 6 Buddhists hacked to death by Muslim insurgents. 6 killed. 2 women are among 3 civilians disassembled by Islamic bombers. 1 wounded, 3 killed. Suspected suicide bomber kills at least 5 near a foreign exchange market. 20 killed, 5 wounded. 2 bomb blasts leave 2 civilians dead. 10 wounded, 2 dead. A group fighting for Sharia launches RPGs at 2 vehicles, killing 1 occupant. Muslim terrorists open fire on a group of security personnel, killing 2. A Shaheed suicide bomber takes out 3 locals, wounds 12. And I could go on. But let me just tell you, folks, this is a dangerous ideology. And more importantly, the danger of leftism that wants you to buy into this is even more nonsensical. Now, as I said, I got 152 examples. I'm not going to do them all because I shoot the show on it. But I want to segue now into Chicago crime, because I've been talking about the number of blacks. 4,000 people killed in Chicago by homicide since 2009. And not a single one of them killed by any white nationalists, any Aryan Brotherhood, any neo-Nazi groups, or anything. In fact, the majority of these people who were killed were black people killed by other black people. And we're talking about neo-Nazis and statues and Confederate flags. This is amazing to me. It's appalling that we would even have this discussion. And we are. And it is considered a serious discussion. Oh, my goodness. So let's talk a little bit about the crime in Chicago and the stats over the past few weeks. So when I give you these numbers, don't believe me. You can go to Chicago CBS Local weekend shootings. Just Google Chicago weekend shootings. I guarantee you this will come up. You can get the Chicago weekend shootings from the Chicago Tribune. They list them every week. So let me just give you an idea of the last few weeks. 9 dead, 54 wounded in weekend Chicago shootings. The week before that, 9 dead, 30 wounded in weekend shootings. The week before that, hey, it was a good week. Only 3 killed, 27 wounded in Chicago weekend shootings. The week before that, 4-year-old boy among 35 people shot in Chicago weekend violence. 6 people killed, 35 wounded in weekend violence across Chicago. 10 killed, 42 wounded in weekend shootings across Chicago. 2 dead, 38 wounded in weekend shootings across Chicago. Hey, only 2 dead. You gotta like that. Here's another one. Guns, warm weather, booze drive shooting surge over a holiday weekend. I'm just going back, folks. This is right on the website. You can go look for yourselves. 8 killed, 49 wounded in weekend shootings so far. This month. 6 killed, 37 wounded. I'm just going back week after week. 4 killed, 31 wounded in weekend shootings. 5 killed, 25 wounded. Now I'm just going to arbitrarily click on the link of 2 dead, 38 wounded. Now, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a different one because I want to be able to give you a better idea of who's getting killed. And the reason I bring this up is because we talk about, the cops are killing people and what's going on in the country in terms of who's being killed. And the fact of the matter is it's young black people being killed in practically epidemic numbers in the same way. And you know what? They say nothing. So I chose the one, 9 people killed and at least 54 others were wounded. They can't even give you the real number. Between Friday and Monday morning, 7 people were shot, 1 fatally during a single mass shooting incident about 2:30 a.m. Sunday in the West Pullman neighborhood on the far south side of Chicago. The group was in the parking lot of a banquet hall, they tell you where, when a male in a black SUV opened fire, according to Chicago police. Then the SUV sped away. Colby Craig, 33, was shot in the head, pronounced dead at the scene. Blah, blah, blah. A 30-year-old man was shot in the leg. A 31-year-old woman was shot in the left leg. 32-year-old woman shot in the right leg. 32-year-old man shot in the abdomen. 33-year-old woman shot in the left leg. 36-year-old man shot in the buttocks. 3 people were taken to the hospital. I'm going to move on. 6:25 p.m. Sunday, 22-year-old Damian Roden was killed and 2 other people wounded in a shooting in the Lawndale neighborhood on the west side. They were on the porch of the home in the location when someone opened fire from a passing SUV. Shot in the head, pronounced dead at the scene. A 17-year-old boy was shot in both legs and taken to Mount Sinai. 18-year-old man was shot in the right thigh, taken to Stroger Hospital. They were both in good condition. Here's another one. 5:10 a.m. Sunday, 30-year-old man was gunned down in the Brighton Park neighborhood on the southwest side. Benjamin Robles, 30, was in a vehicle about 5:10 a.m. Stopped at a stoplight. It is 3600 block of South Archer. According to police, another vehicle approached and someone inside fired multiple shots. Robles suffered gunshot wounds to the head, neck, and arm, subsequently crashed his vehicle, pronounced dead at the scene. I could go on, folks. This is the life that the left doesn't want you to know about, that they create in cities all across America that come up as routine, and they want you to buy into leftism. Not me.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. The Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. So we've discussed a lot today already in the third hour of the program. Love the fact that you're here. I want to give a quick shout out to the people of Texas. My family is there. One of my sons is in Austin. They're getting beat up pretty good. Another's in Dallas. They're not struggling too bad there. But my family in Houston is being overwrought with floodwater, and lots of my friends that live in Houston. And my heart goes out to them because I know that area of the country very well, having grown up there and run my business from there. I had an office in Houston, offices in Dallas, Austin, and various other places around the TOLA, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas area. And I know how easily those floods occur. And I watched over the weekend as the floodwaters kept, going up and receding a little bit, and how those bands of the remnants of Harvey are creating havoc. And it just, my heart goes out to them, because you're so helpless. Unless you are prepared for that, there's just no way. It's a feeling of just utter despair. Think about it. You have no electricity, no food. You probably don't have a boat. In that area of the country, seriously, these people need to have rubber rafts. They need to have emergency stores of food that they keep up top, that they can mix up and things like this. They need emergency generators, again, out of reach. And they need to be able to just zip out, either through oar or a small little motor that they can maneuver, because I'm telling you, the water there is high, and it's only going to get higher. That storm over the weekend was just sitting over Texas. So it's just awful. And I can't wait for it to go down and things to go back to normal, because it's just I've been in that situation of helplessness, and it's no fun. The other thing we talked about was the Mayweather-McGregor fight. And I know, people go, Kevin, that's not politics. I'm not one-dimensional. I don't have to just talk politics. But it is political of sorts. It's Hillary Clinton was McGregor, and she called out Donald Trump, who was Mayweather. By the way, Mayweather said of Trump, before the election, he was one of the black dudes who went on record and said Donald Trump wants to make America great again. He got it. And you want to know why Mayweather got it? Because he's a smart kid. He watched his uncle and his dad, both of whom I think had been in prison, good fighters, street fighters. He watched them blow their careers, and he also watched their craft, and he learned that craft from a very early age. I admire this kid for that. Do I admire everything he does? Am I happy to know that Mayweather is a spousal abuser? The answer is no. But is he the only one? So, but that wasn't the point of it. The point of it is that he is a pugilist, and he learned it from an early age. He learned from the mistakes of his dad, not all of them, but he learned from many of them, and he, grew up to take that craft and make himself an amazing living. And I hope that his kids will carry on the legacy of achievement of the Mayweather family, because that's how we break this cycle of poverty and the cycle of violence. And I hope Mayweather gets help for that stuff. What is this kid seeing growing up with parents, like with his father and his uncle, like he did? I mean, I'm glad they taught him a craft that he took to heart, and he did something meaningful, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. This is a guy that was 2 years retired, 40 years old, and a young 29-year-old Irishman who's in a completely different sport says, I want to challenge you. Now, Mayweather's a businessman, and just to put it in kind of political perspective, and so he gets challenged to come run against McGregor and I'm going to make this politics. I want you to think Hillary Clinton is McGregor and Donald Trump is Mayweather. He's retired. He's not worrying about anything. He's just out there making money, and somebody says, "No, I can come into your work and I can do better." And Mayweather goes, "You're out of your mind. You can't do it. I'm a pure boxer. That's all I do. I don't worry about kicking. I don't worry about anything except punching. And I am an expert." And McGregor comes in and goes, "No, you're not. I can beat you. I'm a journeyman boxer, a hell of a fighter in MMA, but a journeyman boxer. And I'm going to come into your wheelhouse and I'm going to defeat you." And Mayweather says, "No, you're not." And he proved it. And all the naysayers are, "Oh, you don't know Colin McGregor, Kevin. He's really amazing. He's always confounded the experts." He wasn't going to confound this expert. I predicted he was going to get his butt kicked, and all the people, "Well, he came in and he fought the best guy in the world, and it took 10 rounds for him to get knocked out." That's your thing? This guy barely put his hands on Mayweather, and Mayweather could have knocked him out in the 5th round, and everybody, "Oh, he just, and well, Colin McGregor, at least he's not a wife beater." Oh, really? That's your rationale for him getting his butt kicked after calling out a guy who's 40 years old, 2 years into retirement, and you got a 29-year-old in the prime of his career who calls him out, gets his butt kicked, and you want to make excuses? Look, if you're one of those folks, let me tell you what you are. You are flirting with leftism. That's what you're doing. You should. The obvious is there. This is a guy who honed his skill to be considered one of the best pound-for-pound boxers in the history of the sport. And some ingenue comes along and everybody goes, oh, well, he's going to beat him. Well, let me tell you something. I know it seems opposite in the sense of Donald Trump would be McGregor, and he's coming into Mayweather's wheelhouse. But it isn't the case. Donald Trump the politics is business. It should be run like a business. It is the business of the people. And we've been employing McGregors, posers who believe they understand the business of politics when they do not. Donald Trump comes in and he sets the stage for what should be the business of politics, and we have nothing but naysayers, nothing but challengers to him all day long. He can't do this. He's no good. He's not going to make that happen. Yeah, he will. He's going to prove to you that he's been doing this a long time, and though he's retired from business and made it into politics, it is the business of politics. And he's going to show people that you aren't going to challenge him and just expect to walk out unscathed. So I say to this, in comparison, we've only gone 3 rounds, and the left believes they're beating Trump. Wait till the 5th round when they get that look in their eye that McGregor had when he knew Mayweather is going to take him apart and could have done it at any time. That's the look you want. And I want the left to feel that look every time they confront us. I want them to see that look. I want to see that look in their eye of, oh, crap, I shouldn't have picked that fight.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So Donald Trump pardoned Sheriff Joe. He had alluded to it the other night when he was gave his speech here in Arizona. And to hear the left, you think that he released 5 ISIS generals in return for a traitor. God. Yeah, no, Donald Trump pardoned Sheriff Joe for a miscarriage of justice. A man who was enforcing the law gets sentenced for contempt by Barack Obama's Justice Department, and everybody's upset that he gets pardoned. And of course, we are smart people, so we say, well, let's look at all the people that Barack Obama pardoned. These people that have gone out and committed heinous crimes, rapes, murders, murder of children, dealing drugs, gang-related activities. Then we learn that the new sheriff that replaced Sheriff Joe is releasing an average of 400 criminal illegals every 10 days. The newly elected sheriff of Arizona, Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzoni's new policy to protect illegals, even those who've committed serious state crimes, from deportation. So that's who we've replaced America's greatest sheriff with a guy who does not care about the sovereignty of Arizona citizens or American citizens at all. He said during a recent 10-day period, more than 400 criminal illegals were released from the Maricopa County Jail. Directly, they were involved in the process in Phoenix. Weekdays, they say, are busiest with an average of 40 criminal illegals getting released from Maricopa County Jail facilities. On the weekends, it drops to about 10 per day. The illegals have state criminal charges ranging from misdemeanors to felonies, DUI, drug offenses. There's no telling how many criminals he's putting on the streets at a high-ranking federal law official stationed in Arizona. Unbelievable. And by the way, Paul Ryan slammed President Trump for releasing Sheriff Joe. He sided with leftists in Sheriff Joe being released, a man who has upheld the law his entire career. It's all he's cared about is the rule of law. And he certainly wouldn't thwart it. This is amazing to me. But let's talk about how Donald Trump's going to be able to get back at some of these things. And, again, you're fighting your own brother. We have a civil war going on. It's not being fought at Antietam and Bunker Hill. But a civil war is being fought every single day in this country. In this story, they say the Trump administration has triggered visa sanctions against 4 countries who refuse to take back citizens that we've been trying to deport. You guys heard about this? They've been using this tactic for compliance. The Trump administration. Officials at Homeland Security and the State Department confirmed that they were going to crack down on these people who wouldn't take their, criminal citizens back. But they wouldn't name the 4 countries at the time. But sources who tracked the deliberation in recent weeks said the countries were Cambodia, Eritrea, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. Now, I don't know how many of these countries, are, what criminals they have. How many people do we have? I know we have a lot from Eritrea, because we have quite a few from Ethiopia. But Sierra Leone, these are African countries, by the way. I'll accept Cambodia. And I don't know how many criminals we have that we're deporting on a regular basis to put this into any kind of context. But the fact that countries were willing, perhaps under Obama, to thwart us, to say, no, we're not taking back our criminals to Eritrea, Cambodia, Guinea, or Sierra Leone. No, you keep them. And my curiosity is, because, let me tell you, we're not keeping anybody's criminals. Donald Trump will say, fine, we'll keep them. But you know what? That aid that you were promised, that the UN's going to send, it's not coming. You're going to take your citizens back. If they commit crimes in our country, they are not staying here. When did we become the dumping ground for the world when it comes to criminality? We've got MS-5 gangs and a host of other Latino gangs. We've got, let me just say, if you're a criminal, if you think it's good for a person who's not a criminal in the United States, wait until you see how good it is for criminals. It is a bird's nest on the ground compared to their own countries, where they get hands chopped off or killed for relatively minor things. They look at the United States as ripe for the picking. And we are. Anyway, triggering the sanctions fulfills a campaign promise by Trump who had chided Obama for not doing more to force countries to take back their deportees. Now, does it surprise you that Barack Obama would say, you know what, no worries, we'll keep them. We'll keep them. I mean, we understand. You know, we understand. It's tough to get them back, you know. Once in office, Trump ordered the government to use a provision in the law that allows him to put sanctions on companies that don't want to, go with our deportation efforts. So Homeland Security then triggered the law by sending letters to the State Department last week, and now the State Department must halt issuance of visas to some or all of these country citizens. So nobody from Cambodia, Eritrea, Guinea, or Sierra Leone can come, nor could any other country who wanted to take that stance. Now, apparently these are the only 4 who are doing it. But let's see what else we can come up with to make sure that American citizens are safe. Let me put it to you this way. If we're at a point where somebody has to be deported because they're that bad, you got to know that this is a person that's a really bad character. We're not talking about somebody who's a maid who didn't pay her Social Security or something. We're talking about people who are committing heinous crimes against American citizens, and they got away with it under Barack Obama. I'm so glad to see somebody doing something. And I go back to, I heard this Brit, we're going to talk about this guy in the next segment, but he was talking about Donald Trump is ridiculed in America for keeping his campaign promises. He's ridiculed. He would go down in history as a guy who, the only candidate in political history who's actually done what he said he was going to do. And people don't like it. Well, people do like it. And then we'll play that clip of that guy, and I'll talk more about it here in a minute. But people, that is why you can disregard the polls and all the other things about Trump that people try to sell you on. It's because we are finally being represented. And Paul Ryan, how dare he? How dare he go against President Trump in pardoning a hero to America in Sheriff Joe? How can you do that in good conscience? This man thinks he's got a career. He's got no career. Not beyond what he's doing now.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
The American people voted for Donald Trump. Get over it, because he's president of the United States. And what I would say for all of us here, and this actually includes myself, is that we have to ask ourselves, why is it that people felt so left behind that they've made the democratic decisions that they've had, which we think we can't understand, some of us. How can you possibly vote for Brexit? How can you possibly vote for Donald Trump? And the fact is that the people have. These were the forgotten people. And just like we had the forgotten people in the United Kingdom, there are the forgotten people in the United States of America. We may not like some of the things that he says, and I certainly don't like some of the things that he said in the past, but I do respect the fact that he stood on a platform which he is now delivering. He is going to go down in history as being roundly condemned for being the only politician to deliver on his promises. I know that we can all go back and talk to the people that we know in our own little echo chambers, and that we all hear are the same things, but the fact is that there were 61 million people who voted for Donald Trump, and when we stand up in this country and then condemn him for being racist, and I've seen no evidence of that, I have seen no evidence of him being racist, or that they attack him in an unseemly way, we're actually attacking the American people, the 61 million people who voted for Donald Trump. If they wanted more of the same, or the usual stuff, well, that was on the ballot paper. But they decided, by the majority of states on the Electoral College, as it works, that they wanted Donald Trump.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That was some Brit speaking to a bunch of other Brits And I don't know the details of that conversation, of who it was and all that. But I'll tell you this, he nailed it. He says, Americans voted for Trump, get over it. And what I want to tell you is, and by the way, this is the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. You can reach us at 844-551-8255. What he's saying, what we're learning is the same nonsense that's being said about Trump here is being said about Trump worldwide. Our media is not just doing us a disservice. They're doing the world a disservice. They're trying to have the world hate the leader of our country. You would think they would be like sending our Olympic team over to wherever it's going to be held and then saying, oh, our athletes suck and you'll never, United States stinks and we don't care about them. We are exporting the idea. The left is, not us. These leftist pukes, these Democrats, are exporting the notion to the rest of the world that we don't even like our president. So why should you? We don't even respect our president. We think he's stupid. We think he's a misogynist. We think he's homophobic, whatever. Name all the things that they've said about Trump. I don't think they said homophobic, but they've said a host of other things. They want the world to see him the way the left sees him. Now, contrast that with Barack Obama, the most just incompetent imbecile to ever set foot in the Oval Office. And I'm talking about even the guest. And they want to present that fool as the next coming of Jesus. So this is a terrible disservice. But this guy goes on to say this. Why do we question these folks? They elected him in a democratic process. They said, we want Donald Trump. And we didn't ask the Brits. Let me tell you something. I don't care. Cameron, Thatcher, whoever. I have never questioned the Brits on who they elect. I may say, I don't know if I like so-and-so or I don't like an idea of this person, but I don't hear the Brits going, Cameron sucks. He is terrible. He is a piece of crap. Maybe they do, but it isn't reaching us. My assessments of Cameron or whoever to be honest, we don't even know who the British Prime Minister is right now. But whoever it is, I don't hate him. I don't have any preconceived notion of them. And even if I did have a preconceived notion, now I have one of, for example, Macron of France. I don't hate him. He's a socialist, but you know what? He's already learning he can't get away with socialism in France. It isn't going to work. So he's going to come around the same way it happened with Sarkozy and Hollande and now Macron. So when I do know who they are, I don't go, he's an idiot. Who elects an idiot? America did with Barack Obama, but I understand that idiot being elected. It was a whole issue around blackness, and so we were entitled to elect an idiot for one term. When we elected him the second time, I knew then and there we had a problem in this country. I knew we had a problem because I had a feeling he would get elected, but we verified it. So he's saying, who are we to question these people? The average American, I will tell you this, does not question Britain's politics. They don't even care enough about America's politics. So who are the Brits to sit around going, Donald Trump, he's very stupid. I've heard he's stupid. He's also a misogynist, and he's a xenophobe, and he's a racist, and so. People moaned when he said, I've seen no evidence of Donald Trump being a racist. They moaned. Let me ask you, the Brits in that room had zero knowledge of Donald Trump, firsthand or even anecdotal, being a racist, and they moaned. You know what that means? It means that they, in their heart of hearts, believe it because they've been told it. They think he's a racist. They think he's xenophobic because he doesn't want to open the borders. Guess what, Brexit? So do the majority of the Britons. The Brits who said, we want out of the EU. We are sick of being regulated by the New World Order. We want to be Britain again. And I don't blame them. And that doesn't make them racist. It makes them Brits, proud Brits. And I don't care if there are white people that go, Kevin, I love white culture. I love that. You know what? Fine. I don't care. If you're one of these people, look, by the way, British culture doesn't mean white. But if there's a white nationalist that goes, Kevin, man, I don't know. I just like the fact that, my family's got a pure bloodline. Who are we to complain? The royal family of every culture we know does it. The royal family of Japan, how many gaijangs do you see, or what they have a name for it? These are, white folks. How many non-Japanese have been part of the royal family? How many Indians, non-Indians have been part of the royal Indians family or the royal British family or whatever? They're just as racist. They're a national, we're going to keep our bloodline very pure and British. That's what they do. I don't care. I know families of Jews that say, I have to marry a Jewish girl. I don't go, well, you're totally racist. If that is your tradition, then go for it. As long as you're not, mad at black folks or whatever, I don't really care. You pick who you want. And if you want to exclude yourself from the rest of the world, then fine. It does not make you racist. But that's what we talk about. That's what we try to make people out to be. Donald Trump is in no way racist, and he's being sold as a racist, and these idiots, these idiot leftists want this to occur. And what's funny, he says Donald Trump is delivering on his platform, and he may very well go down in history as the only politician criticized for delivering on his promises. He even recognizes that. That goes to show you, folks, that in spite of all the media nonsense that they're hearing about Americans, they are watching Donald Trump do his job, and that's rocking the foundation of politics around the world. No more empty promises. 61 million people voted for Trump. And if you think you're condemning Trump, you are wrong. You are condemning the people who support him. And let me tell you something, as God is my witness, the more you condemn the people who are behind this man, the more vehemently they support him. And pretty soon, Donald Trump will be able to do whatever the heck he wants, because we are not going to believe anything people say. Everything's a lie. And everything he will say is the truth. Anyway, the Brits did exactly what we did in America. They decided they were done with the force feeding of this political correct nonsense on them by the rest of the world. We want to be on our own. We made that decision. Now the question is, how interested are you in really living up to that? Are you really going to fight the political correctness that has overtaken this country over the past couple of decades and put it on steroids in the last 8 to 9 years? Are you going to fight for that? Are you going to fight the label of racist by laughing in the face of these leftists and saying, you can call me whatever you want. You can call me a racist, a xenophobe, an Islamophobe, a misogynist, whatever you want. But let me tell you something. You'll be calling me not from an office, not from a political office. You will be now relegated to being one of the voiceless people that nobody listens to any longer, because we as Americans are smarter. We don't buy into this notion that we are bad people anymore. You're not going to make us feel the way that you may have gotten away with in the past, and we are going to destroy all of the institutions of yours that have allowed you to do this. Now, if you're with me on this, then go join TeaPartyCommunity.com, send me a note, and get involved, KJRadio.com, because that's the world I envision for us. But I'll take a short break. We'll be back in just a bit. Keep it here.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you still get triggered when your fascist white barista asks you if you want black coffee instead of coffee of color? Then you need Obama Butt Balm. Guaranteed to relieve even the most butthurt, pansy beta male tushy rash in your entire gender studies department. For a risk-free sample, just dial 1-800-BUTTHURT. That's 1-800-BUTTHURT.
Everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. So the Republican Party is all jacked up. There's no question about it. But it's not jacked up the way the left wants you to believe that it's jacked up. The Republican Party is jacked up because it is full of rhinos. It's full of people who are trying to be Democrat-light. Now, it has redeeming qualities because Republicans can be scared into submission, into, coming back to the right side. Leftists cannot. You cannot scare a liberal into thinking straight. They either make the transition and become Republicans, or they double down on their lunacy, which is what they tend to do. And you find yourself struggling with the idea of what they can become, because they can become evil beyond your wildest dreams. They are the reasons why millions of people will die around the world. Socialism and communism. And they will rationalize it because they will say it's for the greater good, whether it's for population control or for crime control with respect to killing black babies and things like this. They have a rationalization for their evil, and they don't see it as evil. They see it as necessary. So that they are incorrigibles. You cannot get them to become good, solid citizens. And I don't care. You can dress them up, put them in a suit, give them the right way to speak. You name it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't work that way. But Republicans can, because they still maintain a small glimmer of light that represents the morality of how they were raised or whatever. They can go and be influenced by DC. They could be influenced by entertainment, by money, corruption, etc. But there's always a glimmer, that one small bit of hope that you can bring them back. And because of that, we've been able to maintain things, to get things back on track. Over the past 9 years, the Democrats have demonstrated without a doubt what levels they are willing to sink to stoop to, what mud they're willing to wallow in for their own fake news narratives, whether it's tying Trump to the Russians or telling you that Black Lives Matter is a great group and, philanthropic and humanitarian. They will tell you that police officers are the scourge of the earth and deserve to be shot in the streets. And who knows what they say about you as conservatives. So I could go on. And the problem is that's not going to change. Republicans will at least acknowledge the lunacy of that if you can get them alone. Then the question is, how do you maintain them? How do you keep them on the right track? Now I want to read from an article that talks about these incongruencies, if you will. So it says this: open up the Republican Party website and you'll quickly see an article called Principles for American Renewal. Now I'm going to stop there. The Republicans had no idea of the Principles for American Renewal. It is a play off of what Donald Trump said about making America great again and renewing the American spirit, the spirit that drives not only the engine of America, but the engine of the world. I'm going to go on. It says, with 11 broad statements of principle, such as this one under immigration. And here's what they write. We need an immigration system that secures our borders, upholds the law, and boosts our economy. Now, if you notice, that's the Republicans saying we need an immigration system. By the way, we have one. It's broken. We are all about immigration, but we're not about illegal immigration. And they tell you exactly what they want from that immigration system. Secures our borders, upholds the law, and boosts our economy. So it's covering illegal. It's telling you immigration should be positive for us, right? Positive for our economy, and so on. The Democrats, on the other, it says scroll down on the Democrats' homepage, and you'll find a dull party platform with 93 bullet points and a list of links entitled People. Each link leads to a subgroup: women, Hispanics, LGBT, quote, ethnic Americans. There are 17 different groups and a different message tailored for each. Folks, I give you the problem in the Democrats, with the Democrats and the Democratic Party. This guy goes on to say this: Republicans offer a vision to unite America. Democrats offer to break it down into pieces. Now, you tell me what part of their new strategy of better jobs, better this, better pay, better economy, what is it all going to mean? That message is better this for blacks, better this for gays, better this for women, better this for immigrants. It's not better for America, because nothing they do is better for America in and of itself. Everything they do is a tailored message specific to the group they're trying to reach. And if another group happens to read that message, they're going to go, wait a minute, what about us? So if you say, we're going to put more jobs in the black community, the white community goes, well, or the Mexican community goes, well, what about our jobs? Or the Asian community goes, what? Are we sliced, corned beef hash? Or, I guess you don't slice corned beef hash, but you know what I mean. So the Republicans say, no, here's our border plan. Here's our immigration plan. We want to secure the borders, uphold the law, and boost the economy. That's for everybody. They say the liberal focus on using coalition politics to get to 50.1% in presidential elections has led to historic losses at the state and local levels, with Republicans now standing in total control in 26 states, as against 6 for Democrats, and having shifted the House and Senate right. In The Once and For All Future Liberal After Identity Politics, author Mark Lila suggests a unifying theme that picks up on Bernie Sanders' central insight, that the big political question today is what you earn, not enough, rather than who you are: black, gay, female, Muslim, Latino, or ideally all 5. See, they want to know who you are. They don't care about what you earn and all that in the context of what does it mean for you as an individual. They want to put you in a group of people and say, here's how women think, how black people think, how Latinos think. You are so far away from that. This is a message we should be telling to the left. You are not your skin color or your gender or how you decide to have sex and with whom. You're better than that. The Democrats are all about divide and conquer, folks. This article says that. It says, when what they need is a vision of our shared destiny. Now, I want you to stop for 1 second and ask yourself, why does Donald Trump resonate? The shared destiny. The shared destiny is Donald Trump saying, we're going to make America great. That's the shared destiny. He's saying America first. It doesn't mean we don't like our neighbors and our part. Who do you feed first? Do you feed your family first, or do you feed the other kids around you first? And if you have enough that you can answer, I feed everybody around me first. Let me take away all your money. Who are you going to feed first? I hope it's yourself. Then I hope it's your kids and your family. Then I hope it's your extended family before you start feeding other people. You cannot be philanthropic to the level of the United States unless you are capable of feeding yourself. And we lost that capability years ago when leftists took over this country. So they talk about Donald Trump and causing division. Trump didn't cause division. Division caused Donald Trump. Division is what America's sickened of. They got tired of everybody going, oh, well, what are the women's issues and what are black people's issues and what are gay people's issues? They wanted to do something that said, what are America's issues? When we solve our problems, we solve those problems for everybody, not for one individual group. Be proud of yourselves, folks, for closing the chasm between rich and poor, black and white, etc. You did that, not leftists.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.